Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Pause the video right now to check out my social media, my radio show, and thatdrummerguy.com. And most of all, enjoy the following presentation.
Hello?
Hi, how's it going?
Very well, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Oh, no problem. I'm more than happy to.
Oh, well, awesome. Well, of course, we are here to talk about the brand new album from Toothgrinder, Phantom Amour, which just came out today.
Absolutely, I am so psyched.
So, one thing I couldn't help but notice, I mean, I'm sure you've gotten this a lot over the past few weeks. I mean, knowing so much about, like, the first album where you guys came from, Phantom Amour has, like, completely shifted the band. I mean, it's, like, a really huge change that's been going on. I mean, where did this all come from?
So, with Phantom Amour, and Nocturnal, it is like night and day almost, which is kind of exciting. When we finished Nocturnal Masquerade, the response was incredible, and everyone's like, oh, this is great, and it's like, all right, cool, how do we top that? And I think we didn't try to top it, we just tried to do something different. I've heard a million times we're a progressive metal band, and I think the most progressive thing is to keep everybody on their toes and ever change, with anything. My main focus, in the drum standpoint, was just making sure you could always bob your head to it, always tap your foot. That to me was really important. I feel like something like that translates live as well as on record. So that was kind of my main focus. Yeah, and it just so happened, the songs that we were writing and playing and just decided felt the best happened to be what made it on, Phantom Amour. And yeah, definitely sounds a little different, but I'm excited. It's a cool new path, and I think it just bridges the gap of old Toothgrinder to new Toothgrinder, so now we can do some crazy stuff, and then we can do these other new songs that we've been doing, and I don't think anyone will be like, oh, well, this is this, and we've kind of just paved a path to kind of go in any direction for ourselves, which to me is very exciting.
Oh, very much so. And, it's just, it's so great to see that enthusiasm with change because, especially when it comes to rock and metal, I mean, there are such passionate fans out there, and if a band changes even like a tuning, let alone a different style or something like that, some people can go absolutely insane. But from what
totally.
But from what I've seen from you guys, I mean, it's so awesome to see like all the positive reception that I've seen for where you guys are going from. I mean, going from one album like the debut all the way to this, I mean, it is like that night and day difference, but I also really appreciate that because there's so much more atmosphere going on. I mean, there's a lot of elements that's going on with the first album as well that's being shown up here, but there's so many different sides, and I always love it when a band does that.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're totally right. And there's definitely been some people who are kind of bummed, and dude, that's totally fine. I mean, I don't like every Kiss song, but they're one of my favorite bands. You know what I mean? Like, I totally get it and fully understand and respect anybody's opinion. But yeah, like, you're totally right, and not that we thought we were going to get hate, but yeah, obviously I have ears too. I can hear the songs are a little different, but the positive response, oh my gosh, it has just been so cool and so, reassuring, because obviously any artist put themselves out there, that's a nerving task for sure. And just with people, being like, oh my God, I love Let It Ride, I love this, I love Phantom Amour. It's just, it really makes you feel good, and it makes you feel like, taking that chance was the right idea, was the right move.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I received the promo a couple weeks back, like, I was loading it in with all of my other promos for the day, and I was putting it in iTunes, and I selected this one, and it's just like, going from the first track, it's like, wait a minute, this isn't Toothgrinder. Did I just get, like, labeled wrong or something? And then, like, I was going through, it's like, oh no, this is them. Like, I can hear those little nuances about it, and I find that to be such a great, refreshing thing because, it's like, if you stay stagnant to one style, the band's eventually going to get stagnated, and if you're not enjoying the music, then there's no point in putting out that music. So I'm really glad that you guys went about this kind of direction because, it's like, even though it is more mellow in comparison to the debut, I mean, it's something that I can tell upon listen after listen that you guys really wanted to make this and it was something that you really wanted to do.
Oh, definitely. I mean, when I feel like when we write a song, we have to think to ourselves, like, we want the band to be our job. We want this to be our life. This is our passion. This is what we believe in. I kind of want to write a song that I'm just as happy to play the first day ever hearing it, as well as when I'm 45 years old and we're still playing Toothgrinder songs. Hopefully, I want to be just as excited each moment. And I feel like we're getting better at writing those songs. And like I said before, not to keep harping on it, but they just felt good. When we listen to the songs, they feel good. And that was a huge focus on this record, of just trying to achieve that. It's like, it's not that the, songs off Nocturnal don't feel good, but some are a little jumpy, a little here, a little there, a little part, and then something happens. These are more songs that you'd hear on like a classic rock album, maybe not sonically sounding, but it's kind of cool. Like, I feel like bringing a good song to the table, to me, will last longer than just something technically, amazing or something like that.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I wanted to point out with that as well. I mean, it is one thing to be able to play anything you want to on your instruments. It's just like hitting any scale if you're playing guitar, like any kind of like blast beats or syncopation rhythm. So when you're drumming, any kind of vocal lines, like either from falsettos to gutturals. But when you're able to have all of those skills in your repertoire, but you're able to actually write a song that people are going to be able to remember apart from other songs and always want to go back to those. I mean, that's a sign of a real talented musician and a real talented band, and you guys absolutely did that
awesome.
This time around.
That's so cool. I really appreciate the kind words. Like, seriously, stuff like that is the fuel behind the fire of why we get into the studio, why we write these songs, why we, burn ourselves out on trying to do the best we can, man. That means so much. Thank you. Like, for real, from the bottom of my heart. That's awesome.
Oh, not a problem. And speaking of that, I mean, you guys have had some amazing touring opportunities over the last few years. I mean, the last one being a part of the monumental tour with Between the Buried and Me doing the Colors album.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't come into my neck of the woods in Minnesota, I've seen a lot of great reviews and everything. But did you premiere any songs on that tour off the new album?
Yes, we did. Half and half, actually. We were kind of skeptical because, we knew it was going to be a lot of older Between the Buried and Me fans, because obviously 10-year anniversary of Colors, and a lot of new Between the Buried and Me fans. And, we just felt confident in the songs. And I feel like that's when they're good, is when you have confidence in what you're doing and when you stand behind it. And you don't, maybe they're not as progressive, maybe they're not as like shreddy all over the place like a Between song, but the energy is there. You can feel energy regardless of what it is, So yeah, we opened up with The Shadow, and then we went right into The House, which is an old song. So new song, old song. And then we did Phantom Amour, Feudal, which are two new songs, and then Diamonds for Gold and Blue. So it was cool. It was a nice little roller coaster of like, oh, I love this song, and oh, wow, I've never heard this. What is this? And then, oh, yes, I love this song. And it's like, oh, I just heard that they released this. So yeah, it was really, really fun to test out the new stuff too, to an audience like that.
And what was the reception of that? I mean, especially from like the old Toothgrinder fans when they heard those new songs. What was the reception live?
They definitely loved it. I mean, the amount of kids. So while we were on tour, Phantom Amour came out and The Shadow. So kids were screaming The Shadow, especially it being the first song, and with that riff, boom, boom, bam, coming right in. Like, that was the first thing people heard all night, and so they immediately connected with it. And of course, when The House came on, like, Circle Pit like crazy. And then when Phantom Amour, which was the second song we released, you could just see everyone just banging their heads to that, like, to the opening part, and that happens a couple times in the song. But yeah, the response was awesome. It just, like I said, it felt so good. It felt so good to just have these new songs, that haven't been out as long as the other ones, and people still, getting into it, knowing the words. Like, when someone sings back the words to a song that's been out for like 2 weeks, and you're a new band, it's probably one of the greatest feelings I could ever describe. It's almost indescribable. It's so cool. It's so cool that, like a riff, a drum beat, that's just a feeling you had at one point in time, and you're constantly replicating it again and again and again. And for someone else to feel what you felt at that moment and project that like a headbang or throwing their fists up in the air, it feels so good. And so yeah, the response was awesome, for sure.
And that makes me so happy to hear that too. I mean, the entire bill for that tour, I mean, it's just such a great accumulation of bands that like are really known for some heavy stuff, but also the farther they go along in their careers, the more they get to show other aspects of their styles, that they aren't just about playing as technical as possible, but they're about writing good songs. And that was what was so great about that tour.
Totally. I mean, New Contortionist album is incredible. Like some of the melodies and just the vocal patterns, the song structures just are mind-blowing, man. Those guys are so talented. Polyphia Between, they're just so talented. It was such an inspiration. I mean, we've been so lucky. I mean, not to get off topic, but we've been so lucky getting on the tours we have. I mean, Killswitch Engage, Periphery, you know, like the dudes, we did a tour with these guys in Moontooth. Like, they're just ridiculous. They're so good. All the bands, and everyone's been so nice, and it's just, it inspires you. You literally, I get off tour, like, and this is a funny little drummer thing. So Blake Richardson, the drummer Between the Buried and Me, probably my favorite drummer, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, of all time. And so I play 10, 12 rack toms and floor toms, 16. So literally 3 days after getting off tour, watching him play drums every day, he has this monster kit, like 6 toms, is insane. I totally went out and got an 8-inch rack tom from Tama, and now I have 3 rack toms and a floor tom. And it's just like, it's so funny because like every time you go on tour and you play with bands, you learn something. Well, at least I do, you know, and I use everything as a learning experience. How are they there, and how do I get myself there? Maybe adding the 3rd rack tom isn't how I get myself there, but it's sure damn fun. but yeah, it's cool. I've been so lucky and so fortunate to be able to share the stage and the road with just some of the most influential bands in metal. I'll go out and say that. I mean, seriously, Periphery, Between, and Killswitch was our last 3 tours. Like, dude, if you told me that in high school when I was listening to that on my like Walkman, I would have been like, yeah, dude, whatever, like, get away from me. And now we're just on tour, and it's like, oh my God, the people that I look up to become my peers, and it's incredible.
Yeah, it's funny. I wanted to go back a little bit with you mentioning Blake, because even though I didn't get to see this current tour with you guys, and of course Between the Buried and Me doing all of Colors, I did see the initial run of Between the Buried and Me playing Colors, and that was my first time seeing Between the Buried and Me live, and I got to see Blake's kit and his initial kit when he had during the Colors tour. It's just like I was amazed with all the sounds that he was able to get from the kind of kit that he had back then. And then when I went back and I started playing drums, you know, it's like I was trying to replicate that too, because there was so much off that album I wanted to learn and aspire myself to be able to learn. And you know, it's just he is one of those kind of drummers, and you know, it's just like getting into that drumming aspect. I mean, when you're able to tour with like Matt Halpern of Periphery and Justin Foley of Killswitch, and you know, it's just like, and of course Blake with Between the Buried and Me. I mean, when you grew up listening to these bands and you are able to go out and actually play with those in your own band, I mean, that's got to be such a great feeling.
It really is, man. And for those, every single person, and I'll just even speak for the drummers, every drummer has just accepted everything with open arms, man. Like, everyone loves talking drums. They love talking about baseball. They love talking about this. They love talking about that. Every drummer has been so nice. It is such a cool feeling knowing how strong and how special the drum community is, you know, and even just with metal drummers, you know, and I'm not trying to ex-nay any genre of music. I'm just speaking from, you know, what I'm most used to. Gosh, man, Anoop Sastry, Alex Rudinger, like all those dudes, Joey Baca, Nathan Bulla from Intervals and Auras, like the dudes are just so nice and so kind, and say they do something sick on stage, and instead of like being intimidated, you can just ask them like, yo, what was that thing you did? And I guarantee they're going to stop it. Whatever they're doing, sit down and show you and make sure you know, and then be like, dude, okay, so like, what were you doing in this part? You know, like I have a really funny story about the first show we ever went on for. First show of our first tour ever was with Periphery. And I remember standing on the side of the stage right before we were about to go on, and and Matt Halpern, Anoop Sastry, and Joey Baca are just standing there waiting for us to go on. And I look at our bass player, and I like quietly be like, dude, I really have to go play drums in front of these guys right now? Like, are you kidding me? And he goes, dude, don't worry about it. And like, I remember I was kind of intimidated, you know, because like I didn't get to know them yet. It was first day, and seeing them standing like watching me play, and then afterwards I remember Halpern came up and was like, dude, you did something, it was so cool, like how do you do this? And then Anoop was like, yeah dude, how did you do this or do that? And it's so funny. I forgot at the moment, and they brought me back to real life that everybody's different. I can't be Anoop because Anoop can only be the best Anoop there is. I can't be Halpern because only Matt Halpern can be the best Matt Halpern. You know, I bring something different to the table, and it's so cool. They kind of stopped me and were like, no, dude, you do some stuff that we can't do. And yeah, maybe we do some stuff that you can't do, but we all feed off of each other. And it was just like, oh yeah, duh, of course. Like we're only humans. And it was such a cool moment, you know, like being the new guy and being just like, oh yeah, it's all good. Like, dude, we're all drummers. We're all doing the same thing. This is great. It was just such an eye-opening experience. And I try to tell that to other drummers, you know, whether it be like lessons, just hanging out at a show. I'm just like, dude, you can only be the best you. No one else can be you. So you got to be the best. And you have to be impressed with what you do because you're the only one that can create it from your brain. You know, good or bad, like, you got to be proud of what you do. And it was just like, oh, I'll never forget that. That's super cool.
Yeah, and I'm just going to ask you if you had, like, any stories or anything like that when it came to drumming. And, you know, it's just, like, the fact that you were able to learn that, you know, just, like, from the very first tour with, like, some of the best drummers that are out there right now. And, you know, just, like, getting into that firsthand experience. And, you know, it's just, like, that is such a great inspirational way to look at it because, you know, it's just, like, I can be the only drummer that I can be, and you can be the only drummer that you can be. And, you know, it's just like, of course, everyone's going to have their weaknesses, and that's always something to build up, but there's always going to be those strengths that a drummer has that no one else is going to be able to play just like them, whether it's accents, whether it's fills, whether it's blast, whatever the case is. I mean, there's always going to be one thing that you can do better than someone else and always be able to put your own spin on it.
You're absolutely right. I mean, take a snare drum for an example. You can put the exact same head on a snare drum in the exact same room with the exact same sticks and have me, Matt Halpern, and Blake Richardson hit that snare drum. And I guarantee you it's going to sound different every time one of us hits it. And that's just because we're a different person. Everyone has a different touch. Everyone's feel is just a tad different, and we're going to hit the drum at just a like tiny little bit different, a little bit here, a little bit there. And it's just incredible how that's the case. You know what I mean? You're taking the same product, but just by the person who's playing it, it's going to sound different. And yeah, it's awesome.
And speaking of that, going back a little bit ago when you mentioned that you did pick up an 8-inch tom now.
Yes.
How much have you been able to mess around with that now? I mean, going with the 3-rack kit.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of funny. So, like, I'm super, like, hyper, you know? So when I'm home, I play drums every day. Literally every day. Even if I'm not, like, practicing or, like, doing anything, I will seriously just sit down and play the drums. Like, for an hour, whatever. It doesn't matter. And as soon as we got home, like, after a month-long tour of playing every day, you feel awesome playing the drums. You sit behind your kit and you're just ripping it. It feels so good. You're well practiced. You know, you're kind of in shape from playing a show every day. And yeah, you know, I saw him play, and I've always, you know, being a drummer, I have this, you know, I don't want to call it obsession, but I'll totally call it an obsession with patterns, you know, of just how things are laid out, how groupings fit into, you know, a specific thing. And, you know, so I added another rack tom because that's 4 notes. I've had 3 notes plus a kick drum. So, you know, I would tend to do these fills and be using a lot of triplets, or, you know, adding the kick a couple more times than maybe I would have wanted because I'm out of notes, you know? And I've always wanted a 3rd rack tom. I love, you know, everyone's like, oh, get a bigger floor tom. I don't like the way those low notes sound. We play in like a metal band that tunes to drop B. You know, I want something that's going to shine through those heavy guitars. And the 8, 10, 12 absolutely do that. So I decided to go for the 8, and I've found it to really help, really do some really cool fills going up and down the rack toms, because like I like to kind of play the drums like a guitar, or like notes, like having a little riff that is descending or ascending. I kind of enjoy that, and having the third rack tom really helped, pull together some fills I did in the studio, and it makes me change them around a little bit in a cool way, and it's like I'm almost, I don't want to say working less, because that's not really the correct, but like vernacular, but I don't know, it's cool. It like, I almost can think less when I'm playing, which is kind of weird because I'm adding more things. But it for some reason, the patterns that I can build with the 4 rack toms, kick and snare, or 3 rack toms, 1 floor tom, is really, really cool, Like, prime example, there's a song, Adenium, off the new album. And in the studio, there's like this tom part in the verse. And it's cool, I go back and forth from the 10, 12, 16, back to the 12, back to the 10, and it sounds great. It's awesome on the record. But once I added this 8-inch rack tom, it just like beefed that part up a little bit, and it gave it more of a melody than it had, because and I like to tune my drums a little bit higher. Same reason as I don't want them to be thuddy, because our music is so low that I tend to tune my drums higher so they do stick out a little bit. And yeah, just having that extra little high note in there, I really love it. And on small fills, like if I'm doing something on the hi-hat, and I just need a little fill with a splash, hitting that 8-inch or hitting that 10-inch actually like complements parts a little better than hitting the 12 or the 16. And just in my wacky ears, I just tend to like the way it sounds.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. And I know I can very much relate that to my setup as well, because I have the same kit that I've had ever since I was in high school, this 88 Pearl Export. And it's just like got those gigantic 80s sized drums.
Yeah.
Like my biggest rack tom is 14 by 12. So it's like it's really hard to be able to like get all 3 rack toms up, and unless I have like my rack set up completely. So it's like just to make things easier when I'm playing shows or practicing and everything, like I try to scale down to 2 rack toms. Just for convenience, just so I can have room. But I always missed having that third drum there. So one day I was just looking around Guitar Center, and I found this used 6-inch tamale that was mountable. And it's like, oh wow, if I put this like right off to the side, right in between the hi-hat and my first rack tom, I'll be able to have like those 3 rack tom fills. So it's like, it's really cool to be able to have one of those higher pitched sounds, just much like an 8-inch tom, just like being able to have more accents like that on the racks, because that's something I've always been more attracted to in my own playing, is like having more racks and floors for the same reason, just to have those notes stand out.
Yep, dude, me too, man. I much rather have the higher notes than the lower notes. Like a bass, a guitar, those are going to cover those low notes, no problem. That is their job. Our job is to keep rhythm, but when you can actually add some sort of melody in as well, I think that's when you start getting something like pretty special. So I'm not like, I love drums, but I also really love songwriting, and I really love guitar. And I feel like my approach with drums has changed so much in the past couple years, especially with band, going into the studio more, us having to write songs for a record label. This is some really exciting stuff. And so I thought like, oh my God, I got to get better at drums. I got to get better at drums. But it's like, no, that's not it. It's not getting better at drums. It's just figuring out what to play to the song that's in front of me. I've started to lose like a love interest with really technical kind of drumming. And maybe it's because I can't play technical like that, but it doesn't wow me as much as like if someone's sitting in the pocket for 2.5 minutes and there's one spot in the song where he like busts this fill out that kind of matches some wacky thing that the bass is doing. To me, that is more impressive than a dude who can just sit down and like kill it, I don't know. It's like, it's weird. When I was younger, I used to think like, I got to get better at drums, But like I said, my entire vision on drums has completely changed, like drastically in the past couple of years, which is kind of cool. It's nice to get another point of view.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with that. And I know I definitely do that with my own songwriting, with the music that I write as well. I mean, you got to be able to progress in some way, and that, like you said, it doesn't always mean like being able to do more over-the-top fills or learning completely different styles or something like that, but just being able to write better music drum wise and better rhythms to really match the song. I mean, if you would have had that same style that you did on the first album, and the band wrote a song like Let It Ride, and you still did those kind of drums, I mean, it just totally would not fit with the song. But what you did with it, I mean, it just sounds so perfect and definitely worth call for.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and that's a really good example, because that riff. If you like watch someone play that on guitar, dude, there is so many notes. The dude, there is no room for literally anything, because you mess the groove up, But I listened to that riff so many times and just was trying to figure out, like, what should I do? So I kind of took a Radiohead approach, because like the dude from Radiohead, they've had a couple drummers, but just from listening to their albums, like, dude sits in the pocket and kind of just he makes this texture, and I see it as a texture, and it kind of just overlays and lets everyone in the band kind of do their thing, whether it be guitar stuff, because I mean, in Radiohead they got so many different sounds and layers, and so what I decided is to listen to the riff and just see if I could do something with ghost notes, and that's how that like drum beat came about. It's like, it's more based on the ghost notes and the space that I'm filling with them, because I mean, dude, on the hi-hat and the kick, it's a straight up rock beat, like, it's the most simple rock beat, but the way I place the ghost notes in the groove kind of, it just like before, it complements what's going on in guitar world. I think very well. So it's really cool to have that kind of mentality.
Yeah, and it's just like what you said just a bit ago. It's just like when you listen to those bands that are able to scale back their sound, but there is like that one moment, whether it's a fill or a mini solo or just this one part, like in a bridge or whatever the case is on the drums, where like something really stands out and really shines. That's way more impressive than being able to just show off your ability 100% of the time. I mean, when you are able to scale it back and just do those parts at the right moments and then play for the song the rest of the moments, I mean, that has so much more effect.
Oh, dude, I agree. I mean, and it's not like I do anything to notice it, but it's more noticeable when you're playing and then you highlight something than to when you're literally just going balls to the wall at all times. It's like, this is a great way to put it. It's like when we're talking and I'm trying to tell you that I had a burrito for lunch. Now, if I came up to you and was like, dude, I had a burrito for lunch, oh my God, it was so good. I had guacamole, I had the chips, and I had this, I had a drink, it was good, but I'm so full. You'd be like, dude, whoa, what? Okay, awesome, you're a crazy person, But if I came up to you and was like, dude, I had the best burrito ever for lunch, you'd be like, oh yeah, hell yeah, like, what'd you have on it, And then you could feel that emotion that I conveyed, and you can actually give it back to me, because I give you that space, I give you that time to digest, and I feel like that's how I have to look at drums, is like I'm talking, and whether that be weird, awesome, I don't know, that's kind of what makes sense to me. It's that give and take. And it's really cool, I like looking at music and approaching music in kind of different ways than, I guess the norm would be.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about too. I mean, being able to find that inspiration, that creativity, that way it never feels like you're having to write the same song, the same patterns over and over again. And whether you're playing something that it takes a lot more attention or something that you are able to scale back and just groove on. I mean, as long as you have that inspiration and creativity going, no matter what direction you're going in, you're always going to become a better drummer.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and that's the thing, like going back to when I was saying, like, sometimes I just sit down and play the drums for fun, and it's like, I'm not really sitting down to be like, all right, I got to practice my double paradiddles. It's like, no, dude, I'm just showing up and going through the motions, and although I'm maybe not, practicing something or drilling something, I'm still learning. I'm playing drums. I'm literally, if you just show up, go through the motions, that sometimes is worth its weight in gold just right there, because you're making it a normal part of your life, and I feel like that's important. Like drums, being an artist, a painter paints every day. You know, he doesn't like, oh yeah, like I'm going to become an awesome painter, but I'm kind of just going to do it like whenever I want, and really not like, you know, be like crucial about, you know, getting things done or pushing boundaries. You know, you can't grow from that, you know. But if you show up every day, you give an hour here. Some days you're going to sit there for 8 hours and you're going to learn 100 rudiments and this song, and you're going to figure out this fill. Some days you're not. Some days you're going to be like, man, I suck. Like, what am I doing? You know? But we all go through that. That's human nature. But yeah, I feel like you just got to show up. You just got to kind of give it your all at all times, you know. And I think without you even knowing, you're becoming a better drummer. I promise.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, whether you're behind the kit, whether you're going to a show, whether you're going on the computer and checking out new music, I mean, there's always new ways to be able to progress yourself as a musician and as a drummer. What to play, what not to play, new ideas to try, what to scale back on. I mean, there's so many different directions that things can go in.
Dude, endless. I mean, just prime example, Matt Halpern, body movement. Just how he moves his head, how he moves his arms, how he moves his core, you know, like it's insane, man. If you stop and just watch that, you'll be stumped and you'll have things to think about, you know, for days and days and days. Like another thing is just going on tour with these drummers, just watching them play. There's one thing for watching on YouTube and this and that, but when you're seeing them actually perform in the heat of the moment at a show, you know, no one can prepare for that. So seeing how they, you know, counteract dropping a stick or counteract getting off of a click track or whatever, just how do they do it, you know? Just watching them perform in general is a huge learning experience.
And speaking of that, when it comes to the live show, what's going to be next for Toothgrinder? I mean, I'm assuming in 2018 there's going to be some proper promotion going on for the album.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so we're doing, nothing's announced yet, but we are doing a tour in the early season of 2018. So we're thinking like February, March, something like that. We will be doing a full U.S. tour then, and we have some really cool other shows planned that I can't announce yet, but definitely we are going to be very busy with the traveling, and I am very excited for that. I couldn't be happier.
Oh, that's so great to hear. I mean, with an album like this, I mean, it's awesome that you guys are in such a position. I mean, with the reputation that you guys have been able to pull off the last few years. I mean, the fact that you guys are going to be going out there in 2018, you know, right after the holiday season, and being able to really promote this album the way that it deserves to be promoted live. I mean, that's so awesome to see.
Oh, totally. And the cool part about this album as well is it's opening a lot of doors to now a rock side of things when that wasn't always there. You know, we've always played like heavy death metal tours or this and that. You know, so with the new album coming out, we can still play those metal shows, you know, but we can also play some rock and roll shows. So I feel like that's a very, especially with the news and some shows that we have in the future, it's very, very exciting to be able to kind of cross over now and do something a little different that not many bands we've played with so far have achieved that. You know, some have, and it's amazing, but not many bands that we've played with have achieved that, like that rock and roll crossover. And I'm very happy coming from, you know, I'm a fan of rock and roll music. I'm not the biggest metalhead. And so it's kind of super exciting, you know, that to be able to possibly have the chance to play with some incredible bands, you know, that I love.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with that. And, you know, another great example of that is the Contortionist. I mean, they're going to be opening up for Nothing More coming up on their next tour. And who would have thought the band that would put out an album like Exoplanet would be opening up on this top 40 rock tour? I mean, that's just such a cool thing to see.
It's awesome, man. I'm so happy for them. And yeah, it's exactly like that, you know. They as well, they took a chance because they believed in it, you know. And I think they hit it out of the park, man. That new record that they did, hearing those songs live, like, my gosh, man, it's seriously incredible. They're so talented. I love those guys. I can't say enough good things about those dudes, man. they're so cool.
Oh, very much so. I mean, I've known Michael all the way back to the Last Chance to Reason days when they used to tour
cool.
Minnesota all the time. So, it's just like seeing the progression of what they've done from like touring with bands like Obscura to now being able to go on tour with Nothing More. I mean, it's great because all of those guys in that band are getting such great recognition now. And now from the rock setting, they're going to be able to show that off a lot more. And they deserve that,
Totally.
just like you guys as well. I mean,
Oh, that's awesome.
it's just like with the new album, and like you mentioned, it's just like more of the rock and roll opportunities rather than just the progressive metal, death metal routes. I mean, the fact that you are able to expand your sound and be able to show yourself off to so many different people now and aspiring drummers that may not even be familiar with this type of music yet. I mean, that's so
absolutely.
awesome that you guys are able to do that.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's been awesome. Like we said before, man, the response has been incredible. And yeah, it's nice to open, especially on your second record. I feel like you start solidifying what your sound is, what your direction is, and honestly, I think we're just skimming the surface, which is awesome because I feel like now this record is different than our first, and our third record is undoubtedly going to be different than this one. You know what I mean? Just if we're going off how things roll, which is cool because like I said, we're skimming the surface at this point, and I'm so excited for that because, like, not to repeat myself like before, but we can go in any direction now, which is the best. Like, because now that the record's out, I won't ruin any surprises. Like, dude, there's an acoustic song on the album that I played banjo, so it's like it's incredible that like we can also have a song in drop G sharp, right next to a song on a banjo and an acoustic guitar, right next to like an electronic song where we played like a drum pad kind of thing, and like created a beat. It's just like it's so cool, Like I used not every medium of drums, but I mean I played brushes, I played the regular acoustic kit, we played a little electronic pad thing, so it was just, I don't know, it was really, really an awesome experience, and especially just being a drummer, opening my mind up to change like that. I couldn't imagine being in the studio in a metal band and the guy being like, yo, let's use brushes, and the drummer being like, ooh, but I was just like, yes, absolutely, like, let's do it. I'm sure there's plenty of drummers that'll be like, hell yeah, sign me up. But I was excited that we just didn't care. All the rules kind of got thrown out of day one.
It's funny. I was just thinking about that in my head when you were talking about the brushes. Like, I want to see this happen from you now. I mean, whether it's on record or just playing your kit, just like grab a pair of brushes and see if you can do some gravity blasts with them. Just like,
dude, seriously.
See what you can do with the brushes and see what you can do with that. I mean, whether it's those or I'm blanking out on the name of the sticks, but like the ones that are like the little
cool
tiny
rods,
sticks
hot rods.
Yeah, the hot rods.
The dowels.
Just like being able to experiment with the sticks, because I don't think a lot of drummers do that enough. Where it's just like they can change the drum heads, they can change the cymbals, they change the shells, but no one really messes that much up with the sticks. And it'd be really cool to see what you can come up with, but just by like grabbing a pair of hot rods or a pair of brushes or a different size sticks or something like that.
Totally, dude. It puts your mind in a whole nother realm. You have to play completely different. The brush doesn't respond like a stick does, obviously. And it was really cool. And I totally, homage to all the older drummers. I put a wallet on the snare drum when we recorded the brushes. I was like, dude, I have to, man. It's like the oldest trick in the book. You have to go for it.
Oh, that's just so cool. And yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that as well. It's just like, that sounds so fat and so perfect right there. I wonder if he did go the old school method of putting a wallet on there. So, it's so cool to see that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was awesome, man. It was fun to record the drum tracks. Like we experimented with some stuff too. I used coated heads on the batter and res, and I loved it so much that this last tour we went on, I did the same setup. So I have an endorsement of Aquarian, so I did the the reflectors, which is like a pretty thick 2-ply head, and then high frequency, I believe, on the bottom, which is a single ply coated head. And which is interesting because a couple of people who are like, dude, you have coated heads on your res? Like, what are you doing? I was like, dude, wait till you hear it. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, there are no rules. There are no rules. You cannot tell me what is right and what is wrong because that's impossible. It's only what sounds good, and it sounds awesome. I love it. I love it so much. I have a bunch of gap tape on my snare drum. People are like, dude, well, you really tape that thing up, and like, just wait till you hear it, and then we're in a 1200 cap room and you hear the snare and it just sounds incredible, and it's like, see, It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's what it sounds like. And it's just cool. It's really cool to break the mold, you know? Like, it's cool to break the mold and kind of just do whatever sounds right, feels right. And you know what? I kind of like being a little different. It's fun.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I always thought that about you guys since the first album, and now with Phantom Amour, which of course now is out now through Spinefarm, you know, it's just like you get to show that off even more. You know, it's just like you get to show off all these different sides to your playing, whether you're getting to show off your banjo skills, which is awesome that you're able to do that, you know, showing off the brush skills, or, you know, just like going back a little bit to the first album and, you know, just like getting some of those really nice heavy moments going on there. You know, it's just when you are able to have such diversity and creativity in your playing, and you're always inspired to try new things, see what works, see what doesn't work. I mean, just like you said, there is no wrong way to go about things. I mean, it's just experimentation and trial and error, and you're always able to find something new from that.
Yeah, and the best part is you're never going to be wrong, per se. You're never going to be wrong. If you're just trying it out for the first time, what is wrong? Nothing. It just might not sound as good as something else, that's all. If that's your wrong, then that's not bad. And you know what? I have to say, the guys in my band are super open-minded. You know, like, I feel like we couldn't have achieved this album without everyone being on a completely different page as well as the same page. You know what I mean? I feel like it really helps. Everyone in the band is very open to change and open to maybe feeling a little uncomfortable at points, you know, because sometimes that's when the most beautiful thing happens, is when you drop your guard and just kind of go for it. And yeah, I just want to say props to everyone in the band, because obviously I wouldn't be here without them, you know, but they're a huge factor in the way this record turned out as well. So definitely cheers to them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, cheers to them. And, of course, cheers to you as well. I mean, for everything that you've been able to accomplish between both albums and everything going forward. And, you know, it's been really awesome to be able to talk to you about everything that's going on in the world of Toothgrinder right now. And just, like, getting all these different insights. You know, it's just, like, it's so great to be able to talk to a drummer and a musician that has, like, so many of these great ideas and inspirations that's going. And all these new ideas that are flowing through my mind, things that I definitely want to try when I get on my kit tomorrow, and just like all these different things that you're able to do, all these different shows that you're able to play, the upcoming touring that's going to be going on. I mean, I'm so happy for you guys, because I just love what the band is all about, and I'm so happy to see all the success and positivity that's going into the band, because I know you guys are just going to be getting bigger and better from here.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I can't thank you enough for that. Like, I really, really appreciate it. And it's just fun. It's fun to get to talk about it, you know, because I feel like it's important. It's important to let people know that you can kind of just, I don't want to say do whatever you want, but in a sense, dude, you just do whatever you want. The song Let It Ride is kind of silly, because, you know, that title came that we were saying the entire time we were in the studio. You know, the song we wrote in the studio was the song, you know, that ironically sounds a little different than any other song. And our main funny thing that we would tell everybody would be like, dude, just let it ride. Like, it's all good. It'll work itself out. And it was kind of just a funny thing that we would tell each other in the band when it was like, oh, that part's ridiculous. I don't know. And it was like, dude, it's fine. It's fine. And then when the song Let It Ride came up, we're like, all right, this is way, way different than anything we've ever done. What a perfect song title, you know, for it is like, this is Let It Ride to the maximum, you know, potential. And it was just kind of silly how that all turned out to be like, and I feel like it's one of the strongest songs on the record. And now I tell myself all the time, just let it ride. It's all good. You know, you don't have to overthink it. We went into the studio with a bunch of demos, and day one, we didn't open the folder that was on, you know, that was marked demos. We started from scratch. We wrote songs together. You know, my drums were set up the entire time we were in the studio, so I had the opportunity to listen to a song for a full day, jam on the drums, and then the next day record it, and then a week later fix a fill that I wasn't like totally digging, or this and that. And it also, being in the studio for a month, it gave me time to think about it, but it didn't give me enough time to overthink, because I feel like bands, drummers, musicians, fall into that scary overthinking mode where you beat something to death and you don't even know if it's cool or not anymore because you've heard it so many times. And the guy we did the record with, Taylor Larson, was really good at not letting you get frustrated, not letting you overthink it and just drill a fill to the point where you don't even know how to play it anymore because you played it 6,000 different ways and nothing works. It's like, he's like, cool, move on, all good, we'll go back, you know? And then you go back 2 days later and you just nail it first try. And you're just like, whoa, interesting. I stopped beating it to death and it was like all good, you know? And it was a really cool thing. You're right, don't overthink it. It's pretty cool and super simple, you know, but we achieved all these awesome things by literally just being like, yeah, it's all good. I'm not going to overthink it. That's what naturally came to my mind when I heard that riff. That's probably your best bet. That's the most beautiful thing, is when something just naturally happens. And so when you can harness that and then press record, it's like, dude, I think you're recording magic right there, you know? And it's all, it doesn't sound sterile. It doesn't sound forced. And to me, at least, it doesn't. And yeah, it was a really cool opportunity, a really cool experience.
Yeah, and you know, it's very inspiring to me as well. And you know, it's just like with the album being out now and people to really are getting the chance now to be able to experience it from start to finish. I mean, I really want to see that continuing on to be the message of Toothgrinder. I mean, like, I want to see that like on merch and at shows and stuff like that. You know, just like that ideal of just letting it ride. You know, just you know, just like don't worry so much. Don't push yourself to the limit and get frustrated like that. I mean, when you got the time, you are able to go back and make things the way you want to, you know, just like you were talking about with fills or whatever the case is, you know, just like let things ride, let things go as they come. And, you know, just like living like that is such a great way to go.
It's awesome, you know, and it's difficult at first, you know, because whenever, like, say I write a drum part and someone's like, no, change that, you know, and it's like, oh my God, I'm so uptight. I loved that. I put my heart and soul into that. And someone was just like, yeah, nah. And it's like, oh, you know what, that's okay, because I'm the only one that's heard that in the world. You know what I mean? The guys in the band are the only people who've heard that. So it's not affecting anyone else except me, you know? And the first time I was literally just like, yeah, whatever. It's all good. Something went off in my head and I was just like, oh, wow, that was really easy, you know? And it's just like, oh, let's keep that going. That felt so good to just not worry and just be like, oh, it's okay. Obviously, you have to take it seriously to an extent. You can't just be like, yeah, whatever. You know, then you got the crummiest record of all time. But, you know, you have to take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, it's definitely a cool idea to live by, and I've definitely I think everyone in the band, honestly, you know, has really put it into full effect. We still say it. We say it on tour. We say it this. We say it that. Someone's getting bent out of shape. Just let it ride, dude. Something's getting crazy, you know, and someone's like, oh, this is, you know, like freaking them out. Just let it ride. It's all good. You know, and sometimes it helps, and sometimes, you know, it makes things worse, but that's okay.
Yeah, and you know, it's just like with everything that's going on with that now, I mean, with really being able to show off that now with the Let It Ride mentality, I can't wait to see what the third album has in store now that you've been able to see what the positive energy from this album has been showing off. I mean, the third album, I mean, I just imagine it's going to be even better than what this is, and I already love this album.
Oh, yeah, I can agree with you, because we're just going to push ourselves in both directions again. Like, oh, well, how much heavier can we go? Well, how much softer can we go? Or how much more metal can we be? Or how much more rock and roll can we be? We're constantly, and I mean, that's the exciting part about being in a band. That's why you do it. You do it because you get that rise out of it. It makes you feel good. It's exciting. So when you continually are changing kind of your recipe up, it keeps it fresh, you know, at least for the band. And I feel like that's important, you know. We're artists, quote unquote, you know. We have to be happy and we have to keep excited, or, you know, that fire burns out pretty quick. And like we said in, you know, previously in this talk, man, we've been very fortunate to be a progressive metal band, and to that you're boundless. There's no boundaries in progressive metal. You put a jazz part next to a country part, next to a death metal chug part, next to this like beautiful chorus, and boom, you got like a death metal song, progressive metal song, and it's sick. And no one bats an eye, and that's incredible. What other genre can you do that in? You know, like I honestly don't know. And so we're so lucky, I guess, kind of to be in that category, to kind of just pull out the rule book and just chuck that thing as far as we can out the window and just kind of, you know, let it ride.
And with that said, I think that's like the perfect note to end on. It's thank you so much again for like taking all this time, just getting off work and being able to talk to me about everything that's going on with Tooth, getting like all these different insights about the band, drumming, life in general. I mean, it was great to be able to talk to you about all of that, have that great stream of consciousness kind of conversation, and just like hopefully this inspires a lot of people, whether they're musicians or whatever they're doing in other aspects of their life, to reevaluate kind of things, see what makes them happy, and just have that let it ride mentality. Just learn to let some things go that you don't need in your life and change things up, and just have more of a powerful impact, whether it's just on yourself or with others.
That's awesome. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I really appreciate you taking time to talk about it, because like I love talking about this stuff, man. I could go on probably for another hour. It's awesome, man. We appreciate all the positive feedback. I mean, I can speak for the guys in the band. I know they appreciate it. It feels good, when you put yourself out there and people return with positive things. It's incredible.